There is a brand new sports book out that has absolutely very little to do with baseball. The book is called Doc, a memoir written by Dwight Gooden. Dwight Gooden, thanks for joining us here in St. Louis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Actually, I'm in New York with you, and we're here in studio. And before we get to the crux of the book, you write a story in the book about St. Louis, which really has very little to do about baseball. Let's talk about baseball real quick. What do you remember about those Cardinal-Mets rivalries back in the 80s?
I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun back then. Whitey and David used to go out all the time. And what was amazing was that we used to have spring training on the same complex. We shared the same field down in St. Petersburg, Florida during the 80s.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of trades with the Cardinals, a lot of fights with the Cardinals, but a lot of good baseball as well with the Cardinals.
Was it really heated? Was there really hatred, or was that sort of the bravado? What was that? It seemed like the two teams just didn't like each other.
Didn't like each other because it was very competitive. And, in the 80s, for probably my first 4 years in the majors, there was a lot of battles. Either they was winning the division or was winning the division. So it turned into like a heated thing. And I think with Keith Hernandez coming over from the Cardinals in '83 played a big part of that as well.
Was Howard Johnson's bat corked?
I don't know. It was rumors floating around the clubhouse that it was cork. I'm not sure. I can't. I have no proof.
Okay.
But maybe.
Maybe. There we go. There's some breaking news for you. All right. Doc, tell us the reason why you wrote the book. This isn't a baseball book. This is not talking about how to throw a curveball. This is a pretty personal account of your struggles with drugs.
Yeah, I thought the timing was right, where I was comfortable in my own skin. I'm okay with having this disease of drugs and alcohol now. It was great therapy for myself. And it was a situation where I just wanted to come clean with everything, being in recovery, and to keep my sobriety. You have to be honest with yourself, even with the dark moments, and just speak it. And being a public figure, I figured why not share this story with others that it may help them, may help a family member or a friend. But the main thing, it was great therapy for myself, coming out with this book at this time.
You've been clean how long?
March, May, 2 years.
It'd be 2 years. So, I mean, but the book goes into your struggles, and it talks about how you were clean for years, and then you would relapse. And what was interesting to me about the book is you go into details about how you talk yourself into, I can just have another beer. I can just stay here 5 more minutes. You go into the addict's mind in this book.
Yeah, I have to, just to give everyone an idea what it was like, during my struggles, how, with drugs and alcohol, if you're not in a good place, how, you could talk yourself into these things and you're going to keep getting the same results. That's a situation where you're trying to do your recovery by yourself. And that was always my pattern where, as you mentioned, I'll get some clean time and I'm like, okay, I got it now. I'll cut back on my AA, NA meetings. Right. I won't call my sponsor. I won't be in contact with my support group. In just a matter of time before I go back out, and self-destruct again. So this time, just trying to do it right and share my story in the book.
Is it a day-by-day struggle?
It's a day-by-day struggle. Obviously, some days are better than others. Sometimes it might be a minute-to-minute thing, but the key is being honest with yourself, being honest with your true feelings, and what we call in recovery is telling on yourself. Yeah. Let another person that's in recovery know how you're feeling and what's going on.
Yeah. The book is called Doc. It's a memoir. Did you agree to this picture on the cover? It's a harrowing picture of you.
The picture kind of grew on me a little bit. I like the picture now. When I first saw it, I wasn't too sure about it, but it kind of fits the story that I tell in the book of where I am at today and where I was at that time.
You're looking right at us. I mean, it's an honest picture of yourself.
Yes, and it fits because the book is definitely, I did some soul searching, and it's an honest book and some dark moments where I didn't feel comfortable talking about. But once I got it on paper and got the therapy that I needed out of it, I'm glad I did.
Let's talk about 1986. You start the book. You missed the World Series parade because you were in some drug house in Roosevelt Field.
Yeah, that was a tough time. What should have been probably the highlight of my baseball career at that time, what you dream about, winning the World Series and winning in New York, 3 hours later turned into the worst day of my baseball career. As you mentioned, being in a drug house with about 10 people. I may have known 2 of them. Getting high, drinking all night till the sun comes up, and then all of a sudden you're seeing your teammates on TV at the parade. And that's what, when I sobered up, once I saw the parade starting, you sober up and all the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, and everything just run through you. Every negative thought you can imagine running through your mind. And then I remember driving back home, just feeling horrible, just sobbing out of control.
That's what's so interesting about people who aren't addicted to drugs. They don't understand. They can't comprehend how it can have that much power over you.
Well, a lot of people, it's hard for them to understand and believe that drugs and alcohol is a disease once you're addicted. And it took a while for me to understand that and accept that it is a disease. But when I look back at it and the studies and everything that goes with it, nobody wants to go out and hurt their family. Nobody wants to miss their kids' school activities. Nobody wants to hurt their fans. Nobody wants to self-destruct themselves. Basically, it's a slow suicide, and you're powerless over this drug. So it is a powerful thing, and if you're not in recovery, it would be very hard to understand. Yeah. Even myself, being in recovery, out of recovery, it was hard for me to accept it, but now I'm in a good place where I have accepted it. And it's almost like if you have cancer, you have to get chemo. If you're an addict or alcoholic, or both, in my case, my chemo is going to meetings, being in contact with my sponsor daily, changing my lifestyle and like the people, place, and things they talk about, and sticking with that on a daily basis.
Why is it that some people can take a line of cocaine and walk away, and yet the first time you took it, you said you knew you were hooked the second you took it?
Well, every individual is different. Myself, I have an addictive personality. It's almost like if I eat Chinese food today, I want Chinese food for the next week. Right. I mean, it's just weird. In a situation where it runs in my family, addiction, alcoholism as well. So it's already in my genes. And once I picked up, unfortunately, that was like my drug of choice. I remember the first time I tried Copenhagen, smokeless tobacco. I got sick as a dog and never went back to it. Unfortunately, I always said I wish cocaine would have done that to me. But, with cocaine, it gave me a false sense of who I was, and it just was terrible.
The book is called Doc. It's a memoir. Dwight Gooden is with us here. You write in the book, to the chagrin of Met fans, that George Steinbrenner is a very good man.
He is a great man. George Steinbrenner, he has a side, obviously comes across like he's this tough owner, which he is tough. Right. But at the end of the day, he was in your corner. And he gave me an opportunity to jumpstart my career in New York, where I wanted to play. Unfortunately, the Mets wanted to cut ties, which I completely understand. Right. And at that time in the 80s, I would never thought I'd be a Yankee ever. But meeting with George after the 95 playoffs when they lost to Seattle, we met 2 days, and we never talked baseball. He just wanted to know what I was doing in my life the year I was suspended in 95, right. What are your plans are for 2 days. And then the third day he called and said, do you want to be a Yankee? And at that point, I would have been anything. I just wanted to get back to playing. Right. And we met and did the contract, myself, him, and my dad, and worked it out, and I was very thankful for that.
You also say in the book, Dwight Gooden, that he understood addiction before anybody. He knew it was a disease. He didn't think you were a bad guy robbing a liquor store. He understood cocaine addiction.
You're exactly right. The situation where he knew I wasn't a bad guy getting good. He knew I was a sick guy trying to get well. And part of that was because Adele Smithers, who was the founder of Smithers Institution, the first rehab I went to, they was good friends. And so I'm sure she probably talked to him a lot about it, and also talked to him a lot about me, the risk that he would be taking bringing me in. So he had a very good understanding about addiction as well. And then he told me once he had a family member also that had the problem. And so he was aware of it and had some knowledge of it.
You went through, and you detail in the book, and it's riveting, to non-baseball fans as well, your struggles. But you got to explain to me, Doc, how did it stick with Celebrity Rehab? What is it about Celebrity Rehab that it finally got to you?
You know what? It was a situation where obviously it's not a perfect rehabilitation place, center. What you put into it is what you're going to get out. And I think it was just a time in my life where I was ready to surrender to this disease. And when I went to Celebrity Rehab, part of me wanting to go there was being a public figure. So it's kind of like removing that shield where you say, okay, if I'm going to come clean with all this and really get my life together, I need to let everyone know in my own words instead of having someone else tell my story. Mm-hmm. So I talked to my mom and my older kids about going on there because they was going to have to live some dark moments. So they said, if it's going to help you, go for it. And so being on there, obviously, I wasn't there for the TV, even though the camera's there. I was there to get better and get, most recovery I possibly can. And so with talking with Dr. Drew, Bob Forrest, John Sharp, one of the counselors there, we really dig deep inside and dealt with some core issues that was very helpful for myself. And they gave me the tools to use, which I still use today. And it was just a jumping start, and that's what led me to doing the book as well.
Yeah. You're a shy guy. and that's been well documented. You're shy, you're polite, you're a very nice guy. When you came up with the Mets, I guess my question is, did the shyness lend itself to the drug problem? In other words, you were trying to be nice to people. Everyone's, hey, Doc's my friend. Hey, Doc, try this. Come on over. You were trying to be nice to everybody. Did that sort of help lead you down that path?
I think so. It's a situation where, like you mentioned, being shy, being a people pleaser, making sure the next guy was happy, no matter if it was putting myself in dangerous way or not, and got me in trouble. Even in New York, as well as when I would go back to Tampa, I would want my friends that I grew up with to know that, hey, I'm the same guy. You know, I'm still Dwight, even though the lifestyle they're living don't fit the lifestyle I'm living now. But I would put myself in harm's way, and every time I get the same results, where I would either get relapse, or I'm back in jail for a night, or rehab, one of the three.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to talk with Daryl since the book has come out?
We've talked. I actually saw Daryl last weekend. Was in L.A. They had a Dodgers-Yankee old-timers game at Dodger Stadium.
Okay.
So I was a little weird when a Yankee uniform at Dodger Stadium. but it was a lot of fun. Seeing a lot of old friends, and we've talked. You know, our relationship been like a love-hate relationship, but at the end of the day, I know he's got my back. I got his back, and
he lives in St. Louis now.
He lives in St. Louis. I mean, I can't figure that one out yet, especially from the 80s.
Can't figure that out either.
Yeah, I can't figure that out. But with me and him, it's been like this, back and forth thing. But it's like brothers, where you hate each other one day, and the next day you love each other.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're in each other's corner.
People can't quite figure out they're in the produce aisle, and all of a sudden they see Darryl Strawberry buying bananas, and they're like, "Well, that looks like Darryl Strawberry over there," so they can't see it. Dwight Gooden with us for another minute or two. The book is called Doc. It's a memoir. And it's a true account, in-depth account of his struggles. You've been clean 2 years. What are you doing to keep yourself busy now?
Now what I do, obviously, my days start off, my foundation of my life is I have to be in check with my recovery. That comes first. And then I start my day. I have an 8-year-old son that I help coach his team when I have a chance. I have a 16-year-old that lives in Tampa. So I'm like back and forth when his baseball season is going on as well. I do stuff with the Yankees and Mets, more on the corporate side. It keeps me going as well, but and just taking it at a time. I do a lot of work with the youth programs, and that's basically it, and just taking it one day at a time.
Can you teach that curveball to your sons?
When they listen. My kid, like my 6-year-old, he listens, but my 8-year-old, he don't think I ever played. He knows Gary, my nephew, played. He saw him play.
Right,
but
Gary Sheffield.
So he only saw me playing the old-timers game, so he said that don't really count.
So your 8-year-old son doesn't listen to you?
No.
So you're just like every other 8-year-old son and father in the country?
Yes, and that's fine. Yes.
The book is Doc. It's a memoir. Dwight, best of luck in your rehab, and we're all rooting for you.
Thank you. Good talking to you. Thanks for having me.
The book is called Doc, a memoir. Dwight Gooden, back in a moment on the Big 550 KTRS.